Welcome to this episode of In a Car with IPR. We will actually be in a car van today. And I'm joined by Cameron Batten. He's an SVP and Chief Comms Officer at Volkswagen Group of America. Hi, Cameron.
Hey, Tina. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes. And we're in beautiful California. What's to complain about?
I know. And I feel like the sun's going to come out very soon.
Peak around 9:30.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. We've done this
before.
before.
Stay tuned for 9:30.
Yeah.
So we're going to go take a look at one of the most exciting EVs, electric vehicles, to come out at the end of next year. So you ready, Cameron? Show us all the stuff Volkswagen has.
Let's rock.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so we're standing here in front of the ID Buzz, and I'm going to ask you some questions about that because people are going to want to know.
Yeah, we got people
sure.
like swirling, you know. Yep.
But first, I want to talk to you about your career journey. So you grew up on a pumpkin farm outside Raleigh, North Carolina, which helped put you through school at UNC Chapel Hill. Yeah. But you've also had some really cool gigs, like the Islands of Adventure with Universal, and you also were a scriptwriter for Tupperware. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your career journey and how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah. No. First of all, thanks for having me here, Tina. I mean, this is really exciting to share. Not just my story, but our company story and the great story of the buzz behind us. My career I've had a very cherished and privileged career. You know, I would say it's been defined by really fun experiences, really fun brands. You know, I started in North Carolina. My very first job was actually with the UNC Athletics Department. And my first crisis was when Dean Smith retired. And that threw Chapel Hill into a firestorm, and it taught me very early on how to manage in a crisis, the speed, you know, and how we did PR back then, and now it's completely changed. And through my experiences, I've been able to see that. I opened up theme parks at Universal Studios. I wrote for scripts and business theater for the Tupperware ladies. I moved to New York when I was 24 and worked for Philips, which is a big Dutch conglomerate. In 2017, I wanted to move down to be closer to my mom. She was diagnosed with cancer at that time, so I wanted to be closer to her. So I moved to DC and joined Capital One. Very progressive, one of the first to move to the cloud in terms of being a digital bank. And then Samsung called, and I was not looking, but I came aboard, and that was a whole rocket ship.
Tell me a little bit about this vehicle.
Yeah, this is our Volkswagen ID Buzz. This is the two-row version. We sell that in Europe. It's a special edition called the Love the Earth Art Edition, and it's from Dr. Bob Hieronymus. He's a partner of ours. In fact, he was the one behind the Volkswagen Light Bus. If you Google like Woodstock and Volkswagen, you will see the famous light bulb bus that was picked up by the Associated Press. And it's old school, beautiful. He created a poster called Love the Earth in celebration of Earth Day in all languages in the world, and brought this design to us when he knew that the bus was coming out. And we said, we've got to put that on one of the new buses. And so we wrapped this in that special art design that he created. And it's called Love the Earth. And we brought this to California earlier this year when we launched the US version for North America.
So I do want to talk to you before we get in the car and take a ride in it. Maybe tell me a little bit about the work that your team is doing in terms of AI and how it's impacting the organization.
Yeah. So I have a broad-based team at Volkswagen. You know, if you think about Volkswagen's construct in North America, it's quite broad. We have manufacturing facilities in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Puebla, Mexico. So we produce 85% of our volume in the United States or Mexico for the entire region. We import about 15%. And so what that entails is you need to have a strong workforce communications team inside out, right? Community engagement down in those two markets. And then you also need a very strong media team, as well as a very strong lifestyle team. So when we create a press event, it has to be catering to both the press and also to consumers, you know, who stop by and look at this beautiful car and want to know more about it. And so that's how my team is constructed. Our teams have been working very closely with a more traditional media monitoring partner. And this year we did a tender for a new service provider in Germany, and we ultimately chose a very small startup called AI-tastic, and they have done some phenomenal work in just really looking at media monitoring full scope using AI. So in preparation for us moving to that new vendor, this entire year has been an effort of comparing the reports we get now, which are more traditional, to the reports that we get from our AI partner and looking at the data integrity. So when we launched the bus, we actually got 2 reports. Our traditional capture and then our new. And what it's able to tell us is really some fascinating stuff. Number one, like we have key messages associated with this car. What was the pickup rate, for that across all media, It also looks at penetration rates, deeper into like sub-forums and it's able to go in and look at people who are not just talking about it, but taking photos and images and multimedia assets, and it's able to recognize that rather quickly and immediately. The other thing it's doing is it's just showing us, where the critical engagement is, and we're seeing that in much more richer platforms like TikTok and more of these kind of emerging social channels. And that's driving a lot of the conversation, that comes from traditional media. So I think it's teaching us a lot. We're using it to really carefully transition. We're not jumping in whole hog, and for me, I'm being a little bit more cautious too as the U.S. leader because, I don't think the pricing model has been figured out. You've got less people fundamentally working on your account, so you're really funding more of the research component that goes into AI. You're funding more of the insights and analyses that come out of that, and I think smaller vendors like that are having to come and find that talent, and that's already taken in this marketplace.
Yeah, I think what's most important, and what you pointed out, is with all these different vendors and products and whatever, is making sure that the data you're getting is as solid as possible. So I like that you're comparing for reliability purposes.
Because your leaders need to look at it and feel like it has the same kind of trust.
Exactly. And rigor in the data.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you ready to drive the vehicle?
Yeah.
I just really want to get in the car.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's not about me. It's about this, right?
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. All right, so let's look at some of the fun Easter eggs in here. First, if you look on the pedals of the vehicle, there's a play and pause according to the brake and the accelerometer. And then in the middle here, in the center console, you can adjust these, based on your storage needs with your partner here. But if you pull them up, this one's a bottle opener, for that original Coke glass that you can have at the beach. This one's an ice scraper, so that makes it a little fun to, and then you put this back down, and then if you're like, well, we don't need this entire thing in here, you can just pull this whole thing out, and then you have room for your dog to get in there, for your own little cooler, or whatever you need, your little bag for your dog.
Okay, neat. Yeah. Are you going to drive us around?
Yeah, let's go for a spin.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, come on. What's kind of fun about the bus is that it has the same retro style cues as the original. So the short 8 overhangs as the bus, you can see that reflected the giant Volkswagen logo. In the US, that version will light up. So you'll see it at night coming at you.
Oh, that's super cool.
So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. And then, it also has a lot of the fun Easter eggs that, that were present in many buses throughout the year.
It's like very thoughtfully designed.
Yeah,
sure.
Very thoughtful. What's nice about this too is that it's so distinct. So when you pull up at an Electrify America or one of these charging stations, I think the behavior right now is everyone's kind of comparing notes. But when this thing pulls up, it's an instant crowd pleaser, and it gives you a lot to talk about. And so one of the things that we're thinking through right now is how do we equip our customers, to be brand advocates at the point of charge, which is such a unique opportunity for us.
Yeah, it's from that sort of perspective, because you said people, people will talk about it, just like when we were even back there and people were sort of gathered around seeing what we were doing. There's a lot of nostalgia with the Volkswagen brand. And I know you and I were talking last night, like we used to play Punch Bug. Whenever you saw a Volkswagen Beetle, you would have to punch somebody in the car. It's very violent. And then, but there's also, with the old VWs from the 70s and early 80s. So how is that with like a brand and having that, using that nostalgia as in your storytelling and trying to generate,
so we try to bring all of our audience along for this journey. With the bus, it was really important when we launched this earlier this year to bring the old community and those fans of EVs together in a way that celebrates the importance of this iconic vehicle to not just Volkswagen, but the entire movement to electrification. And so we created what was called International VW Bus Day. My team works in social media. We're all constantly looking for days to celebrate and content ideas, donut day, pizza day. And we were like, why don't we have our own day?
Yeah.
The bus day. So we worked with the social media group that basically sanctions days, and we got it authorized and proclaimed. And so June 2nd now moving forward is International Volkswagen Bus Day. And the reason why we chose June 2nd is because it's in honor of the Type 2. The original Volkswagen bus is the Type 2. The Type 1 is the Beetle, and it's literally the first car built off the platform was the Beetle. The second car built off the T platform was the bus. So that's why we chose June 2nd.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you about your some of your journalism background. So your mom was a reporter, and had a pumpkin farm. It's like 2 jobs.
Yeah, my mom started her career as a journalist. She wrote a column for a local newspaper called Country Chatter, and what it was about was it was about raising kids in the rural American South, and it was such a personal column, and she really taught me the value of storytelling. My grandmother ended up clipping every clip from that and saving that, and so we have those memories today.
God, I love that.
And for me, I think it just showed me, like, if you can tell a story and communicate, it's it's half the battle. She would always say that. And she went back and went back to nursing school, then went back and got her MHA, then got her MBA. So she went back to school multiple times, and I feel like she instilled in me a curiosity and work ethic, but also a natural way to tell stories, and that's something that I've embraced, to this day. I think about her often. We lost her in 21 when I right before I started this role, but I think there's been a lot of signs in my first 2 years here that she's been highly proud of where I've come.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
Cameron.
This is the van life portion of our
hashtag
filming?
van life.
Yeah, so like imagine we're,
If I was an influencer, they get paid really well, these van life influencers.
Some of them do, but if they work with the PR team, they don't get paid at all. Like, we believe in working with influencers, and we don't pay them. Marketing pays them. Yeah. Well, our philosophy on influencers is like if they're emerging or non-pay, they're PR, and then when they get to the point of being represented or like high-profile talent, we turn it over to our marketing team, and that's kind of how we divide and conquer from a coexistence in the influencer space.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Keeps it neat.
So I'm going to ask you fun questions.
Sure, let's go.
Are you ready?
Rapid fire?
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see how rapid.
Yes. So I took this from Inside the Actors Studio, but my questions are better because some of them weren't really great from James Lifton. Okay. Any recommended books or authors that you love?
Finished The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett.
Nice. That's a really good one.
Really good book. And that one was a crank out in like 3 days type book.
That's how you know it's a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike the ones that sometimes you slog through. And
you're the ones that you put down and it takes about 6 months, and you're like, all right, that was great.
Glad I finished.
Yeah.
Any favorite movies, TV shows, podcasts?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was saying anytime that a Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman, or Erin Brockovich comes on, I watch that all the time.
What would you want to do if you weren't doing this? And it can't be something adjacent. You can't say marketing. It has to be something non.
No, I'd say, okay, so 2 things. One is I wanted to be a car designer when I was younger. And now it's funny how my career has come full circle, where the reason I didn't, I was telling our designers earlier this week, the reason I didn't sign up to be a car designer is when I got into design school and I was walking through, they were working on their final project for the semester, and all of them were like sleeping on the couch, and they were up all night, and I was like, that is not the career that I want to have for the next 4 years, much less the long term. Yeah. And so, but it's funny how it's come full circle that I'm now on the other side as a press officer.
That's really great. What would you not want to do?
What would I not want to do? I would not want to do PR again.
What?
No, I love my job right now, and every time it evolves, I love it. And then I look back on that, and at some point in my career, I'm going to say, this was a fun ride, and I don't ever want to do that again. More so from just, the media landscape. It's crazy. The news cycles are crazy. The credibility of it's crazy. How we're letting, a lot of these narratives play out in ways that are believable or not. And it's just, I've seen a lot of that evolve in a way that I think is tested me and maybe grow as a practitioner. But I don't need to repeat on that.
Nice.
I don't need to rinse and repeat.
Nice.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. I think that's the first time we've had an answer of the current job I'm doing now. It's not.
I mean, and I love my job. It's just like I don't want to suit up and lace up for that again.
Yeah, it's just especially you see like the change, like you said, like the change in media landscape and all these pressures.
Like when I started doing PR, it was all fax blast.
Right.
And now look at it. It's generative AI.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
you have to deal with a lot of other issues, disinformation, deep fakes.
Deep fakes. Like
reputation. There's definitely a lot more risk. I do appreciate in multiple instances, you had CamIM, the website. You also had the roving reporter video blog when you were at Philips.
Yes.
So this is like you're the man in front of the scenes camera.
It's the whole roving reporter series was a fun one because we were thinking of ways to bring our employees closer to our brand investments. That included the World Cup. We were sponsoring Sundance Film Festival and a bunch of other fun things. Like we had fun events and we never captured it for our employees. So we started doing video blogging early on before it was even a thing, right? Before even YouTube was a thing. And so my boss at the time was like, gosh, we need some talent. Who's that going to be? And then she looked at me and she's like, it's going to be you. And I'm like, and so I just pulled out the journalism chops and they threw me in there. And my very first event was Sundance Film Festival. And I was talking to celebrities that I had no idea who they were. And I was like, and who are you? And what's your name? And like my microphone was doing this. So I have a lot of fun outtakes. And thankfully, those are not posted on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. We have some really fun outtakes from the In a Car series, too. Yeah. There's some good ones.
We'll probably have some for this one.
There's definitely some for this one, too. Yeah. Okay, so final question. Okay. Let's see how well this goes, Sarah. If heaven does exist, what would you want God to say as you enter the pearly gates? And pretend, if you are not atheist, pretend like there is a God. So,
It's about time.
It's about time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's about time. I hope I live a long, beautiful life here on this earth, but I am completely accepting of what's next. And so I think, he would, or she, or it, or they, or them, would say the same thing. It's about time. And, I try to think of that way when I think of my mom who's up there, or my grandmother who's up there, and my grandfather. It's what they're doing right now. And I'm sure there's a fried fish involved. I'm sure there's a story about something in the community. I think the Volkswagen is talking to us back there.
She's telling her story.
She's trying to interject. But I try to think of what they're doing, and it's quite beautiful.
I grew up on fried fish, too.
Yeah. I didn't even know that tea was
not unsweet
until I went to Florida, and this person
you must
at
have gone
a diner,
to South Florida. Not
it was South Florida. It was in Boca, and she gave me a tea, and I was like, "There is something wrong with this
You're
tea."
Missing something.
Yeah, and she's like "Here it is. It's called
sugar.
yes." But that's what makes it fun and sweet and nice.
That is great.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. This is a lot of fun.
Blast.
Hey, you could be a great spokesperson for Volkswagen.
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to just, when we were driving around, I felt like I was waving to people. Yeah. And I love talking to strangers, which sounds weird, but that's my next thing. So.
Good. Come join us.
Good. All right. Thanks, Cameron.
Good to see you, Tina. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So thanks, everyone, for joining this episode of In a Car with IPR. If you like what you see, give it a thumbs up on our YouTube channel and follow us. And stay tuned for more exciting In a Car in a ID Buzz.
Yeah.
With IPR.
I challenge my fellow trustee and IPR members. Top this.
Yeah. Top that. Top that. Thanks. Awesome.
Thank you for watching this episode of In a Car with IPR. Want to make a tax-deductible contribution to support this series and fund research in the profession? Please visit us at instituteforpr.org/contribute.